and Power Watercraft. Elway Power Sports of Lincoln has it all under one roof at their new 27th and I-80 location, and they can't wait to get you set up for the summer.
You know you want those Wingstop boneless wings. With the boneless meal deal from Wingstop, you get 20 boneless wings in 4 delicious flavors and a large order of hand-cut fries for just $16.99. What are you waiting for? More wings, more flavor, more bang for your buck. The $16.99 boneless meal deal from Wingstop. Order now from wingstop.com. Valid at participating locations for a limited time on orders for pickup or delivery placed via wingstop.com or the Wingstop app. Prices may vary by location. See wingstop.com/offers for full details.
Mike, the insurance company wants us to replace the roof.
Wait, what? I thought everything was fine.
Yeah, it says right here our roof is too old and they won't be able to cover us anymore.
I guess it is 15 years old. Hi, I'm Austin with Roofing Service Company. We help homeowners with their roofing and siding projects. Financing options are available, and we can get you under a new roof no time at all. If this sounds like you, visit roofingservicecompany.com. That is roofingservicecompany.com.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Lincoln Federal Savings Bank, personal banking like you remember.
Hi, this is Chris Elgert, loan originator at Lincoln Federal. I know that buying a home is one of the most important decisions a person will make in their lifetime. That's why you need an experienced loan professional to explain all the options available, to answer all your questions, and to make the home buying process a rewarding experience. Talk with me and discover why Lincoln Federal is personal banking like you remember. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
There's no place like McKinney's Irish Pub for St. Patrick's Day, so mark your calendars to join in on the fun for their 11th annual Street Festival. The party starts on Saturday, March 15th, with tons of giveaways, a kilt contest, great Irish food, and green beer, and continues on Monday the 17th for actual St. Patrick's Day. Doors open for the bar at 11 a.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. on Monday, and the street party starts at 2 p.m. both days. Don't miss out on great music and great fun with no cover charge for St. Patrick's Day weekend at McKinney's 8th and P in the Haymarket.
When you or a loved one hears the words, "you have cancer," you want to make sure you're surrounded by a team you can trust, who will be a true partner in your cancer journey. At NHO, you'll be treated like family, and you'll feel that compassion every time you walk through our doors. After all, this is the fight of your life, and you'll need the best people to be on your side. We're Nebraska Hematology Oncology. On your side, by your side.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call today at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started.
Welcome into Be a Beacon with Lighthouse on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Here's your host, Bill Mitchner.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Be a Beacon with Lighthouse. And we're going to get started. Obviously, we have a different time tonight. But, I'm going to go ahead and get this started with Austin after I spilled my water. Austin? Or I'm sorry, Harrison.
There we go.
My guy.
Hey, typically it is Austin Orman at this hour, but since it is the 5 o'clock hour, I want to shout out our sponsor, Old School. Well, not Old School today. It's Be a Beacon with Lighthouse. Is sponsored by the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese. They've got 3 Lincoln locations and 1 in Omaha where you can stock up on meat and more this winter. Well, now heading into the spring here, visit themercadobutchery.com to learn more. And don't forget to check out Fired Up Thursday at 5900 South 85th Street, Lincoln, and Fried Up Friday at 4841 North 8th Street in Lincoln as well. So again, appreciate Mercado sponsoring as always. All right, Bill, back to you.
Thank you, Austin, too. Austin, too, or Harris, and whatever.
About the same, Bill.
I appreciate you very much. So we have a phone show tonight. We have a couple new guests on that haven't been here before, and we thought, what the heck, we're going to do a little spin on this. And Pete Allman, our board president and founder of Lighthouse, is here with us tonight, and he's our first guest. And he came up with this idea of, why don't we do a show with all the directors of Lighthouse, the executive directors? So TJ McDowell is also joining us, and we'll get to his story here in a bit. But Pete, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
So, we're going to have to get an abbreviated version of your story, obviously, because why in the world did you start Lighthouse in the first place?
Especially coming from my place in the world. I've always, I got a business degree, worked in the family business. 1988, I went to New York City and volunteered at Covenant House, a place for runaways and throwaways in the inner city. And it was 3 weeks, had an incredible experience, loved it. Came back to Lincoln. People thought it was weird that a white middle-class kid went to inner city New York, and they wanted to hear about it. So churches, civic groups are always looking for speakers. So I talk about Covenant House. And every time afterwards, people came up to me and said, Pete, when are you going to start something in Lincoln? There's a need in Lincoln. And back then, Lincoln was called kind of the all-American city. I thought, I don't know if there's a need, but I heard it often enough. I thought maybe that's why I went to New York, to find out there's a need in my own backyard. And so my wife and a friend of ours who was a teacher at Lincoln High, Jim Perry, we started researching the need. And boy, did we ask a lot of questions because we didn't want to duplicate any services. We didn't want to do anything for our ego. If there was a need, we wanted to fill it. And what came back was, Lincoln needs an after-school program for its teens. So that's what we started going with. And we got money for a formal needs assessment, and that came back. And then it was in our lap to say, okay, get it started. So, of course, find a location. And if you heard of NIMBY, it's a great idea, but not in my backyard. So it was really difficult finding our first location, but it was 17th and G, and then had to come up with a board of directors and nonprofit status and programming, et cetera, et cetera. But in June of 1990, we opened the doors. And soon after that, this tall, skinny guy with red hair, Bill Mitchner, came through our door.
I'd like to say punk kid.
He was a punk kid. And I don't know if I get into that story yet, but I'll say one more thing about when we opened. Like, you're in high school, you throw a party, you're like, oh, is anybody going to come? And it was the same thing, opened up Lighthouse. And the first day of Lighthouse, we were busy. And we have been busy for the next 35 years because everybody was right. There is a need for after-school programming. Because if you're not involved in sports or band or a club, there's nothing to do after school, especially for middle school and high school age kids. And they're old enough to get themselves into adult problems. And so you got to have that safe environment, loving adults, good programming to keep them on the straight and narrow. And that's what Lighthouse has done. And believe it or not, this is our 35th anniversary.
Yeah. So initially, though, and let's go back a little bit. Initially, when you started Lighthouse, what was the biggest challenge? And why did you call it Lighthouse?
The biggest challenge, foundations in town supported us initially, and they only give seed money. So we had money for the first 2 years, and it covered it. I remember very vividly, probably 2 years and about 4 months later, we were running out of money. And I really had the question in my head, I never verbalized it, is Lighthouse going to make it? Are we going to shut our doors? And I was sad for two reasons. Number one, and in no order, one of the reasons was volunteers really like being at Lighthouse. They like giving, and they have always said, boy, I wish there was one of these in my hometown when I grew up. And I was sad for the volunteers, but I was also sad, obviously, for the kids that we serve. So the number one problem we ran into was financial support because we're a brand new kid and we're not the YMCA or Madonna or anything. So that was the biggest hurdle initially. Number two, why do we call it Lighthouse? Well, I was at Covenant House, and it was really just Maureen and me, a little bit of Jim Perry. We came up with something house, something home, and nothing fit. And Maureen said, what about Lighthouse? I'm like, oh, that's a good metaphor of the light, bringing the kids into the shore, all the craggy rocks and everything. So right away we did Lighthouse, and really glad we did. And it stuck, obviously, ever since.
Now, wait a minute. You use the word craggy.
Isn't that a word?
Well, I don't know if it's a word, but I'm not sure anybody that's listening knows what that means.
It's a crossword puzzle word, Bill.
It sounded like a Pete word. I was just
there you go. Uh-huh.
Craggy. Yeah. Thanks for that laugh, Pete. So you already talked a little bit about some of this, but so what were the early successes that made you realize that Lighthouse was important to be in this community?
Interesting, again, the volunteers, because they kept saying, I'm getting more out of this than the kids, I think. So
Hmm.
that was cool to hear. Number two, we got feedback from the schools of like, yeah, they're doing well because they're being monitored after school and we're not hearing things. I'd also hear, and this goes over to TJ's tenure, but when we would do a special event, the police department said we have less complaints of petty crimes, misdemeanors, etc., when Lighthouse has a special event compared to when Lighthouse doesn't have a special event. Do you remember that? And I thought that's super interesting that it's that direct of an impact. And I'm going to tell your story because that's a success because one of our rules was you have to be attending school. And this guy came in, Bill Mitchner, and he was not going to school. So the principal of Lincoln High, Sam Nelson, was on our board, got Bill in, and of course, Bill's smart. And later he gets an academic letter and undergrad and graduate degree. So that's a huge success. And we saw that in others that we kept them on the road. Funny, we had to change the rule because many people, the initial rule was you had to be enrolled in school. And then we found out you can be enrolled in school, but not attend school. So we changed the rule that you have to be attending school to be able to come to Lighthouse. And we have grown and matured and become more sophisticated through the years. And now, we get parental release forms and we know if a kid went to school that day because we can access it. So we got feedback from the community, we got feedback from public schools, but we also saw, these teens, they're excelling here. They're liking it here. They keep coming back here. And we kept finding more needs, which we then kept trying to fill. Like, we were open, 3 to 9 and kids weren't going home for dinner. We're like, go home for dinner, go to Burger King. And they're like, there's no food. So we're like, we got to create an adolescent food line. And that took us about a year. And since then, we serve snacks and dinner, a nutritious meal every night. So we grew, we found out the needs, and we kept doing what we could do.
Okay, so let's again go back a little bit because
Okay.
you talked about Lighthouse wasn't that name that was a part of the community,
Yes.
like the YMCA's and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So how do you build trust with the community in those early years?
How do we build the trust?
Yeah.
That's a really good question. The donors, the foundations we had to give reports. Well, okay, I may be all over the place, but I'm just going to keep talking. I found out, people told me that people don't give to causes, they give to other people. And so I'd be out there, like I said, churches, civic clubs, a whole bunch of places like you do now, like TJ did, talking about Lighthouse, talk about our numbers, talk about how we're making change. And, people's heads in the audiences would just nod up and down like, yeah. So I think it's going out there and just sharing the word and showing we're doing what we say we're doing.
And I think that's part of it, but I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit because you had to put yourself out there and many people in this community knew you and trusted your word and you started with the people in your trusted circles to build around that, to then expand upon that. Basically, the board members you brought on to carry your stick with you and beat your drum for you. So then that created more and more access to what we were doing because those reports that you give to foundations and stuff don't go anywhere. They stay with those foundations.
Yeah.
But it really is about you putting yourself out there. And to be honest with you, that was a transition that took a leap of faith in itself from you going away from your dad's business to doing this too.
That is very true. And I've said all along, I think it's a God thing because, I worked hard and you're right. People knew me and trusted me, but just how we've grown and helped thousands of kids. I think it's the faith and works.
I agree, but I have to give the nod to you, Pete, because really you're the one that helped create this, and I know you had help.
Yeah,
and you had to put yourself out there, and you being vulnerable and doing that, so especially back then when you were a T. Now that you're more of an F, a thinker. He was a thinker back then. He's more of a feeler now. we've brought him over to the dark side.
And that is true. Helped my marriage too.
I thought that was an important piece to understand, because it's impossible to build something like this on a dream. You have to help people kind of come along with it. And you had the dream, but you also put yourself out there and hoped people would believe like you do. And they did.
Yeah.
And then it started slowly building bigger and bigger and bigger. And our circle became bigger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Of course. So as you're thinking back again, Pete, what do you think the most important foundationally, what was the most important thing that you did to set us up for our future successes?
I think it's two things. One is hiring the right people. And I'm going to share a quick story. Like I said, when we opened, we didn't know how many kids were going to come. And right off the bat, we had 30 kids a day, 40 kids a day, 50 kids a day. And we only had one staff person, and I was half-time. We just didn't have enough. And so one of our board members was a professor at Wesleyan, Bill McNeil. And, you know, as a board, we talked about our needs and how can you help. And one of the board members says, I got a kid at Wesleyan I think would be a good employee. And TJ McDowell comes over. I interview him, and I said, can you start tomorrow?
And I said I could start Tuesday.
I was like, we'll take you. And, you know, just one of the best guys ever, smart as a whip, kind heart, responsible, gets it. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this. I remember, I don't know how many months later, you said, you know, some of these kids are 17, 18, and I'm only 19. I'm like, oh my God, I thought you were 22 or 23 or something.
I knew some of the kids because I went to high school with them.
Yeah. But you were mature enough and wise enough to, you know, keep that distinction and make sure kids follow the rules and have boundaries. And hiring TJ was a godsend and really took us to new places. And then this punk kid graduated, you know, did well, and Bill Mitchner. And then he started volunteering, and we're like, we needed a volunteer facility manager, hired him, and of course did great work. And then good old TJ wanted to go out and spread his wings. And so we put out an ad, or I don't know how we got the word out there. Do you remember how many people applied?
A ton.
Like
There's some great
like
applicants.
30 for just Lighthouse. And I was like, gee, and we honored it. We had a committee and we went through everything, and we pared it down to just a couple of people. And by far the most qualified, the best person was Bill Mitchner. So
I don't know about the most qualified, maybe in with the kids,
yeah,
the side of it, but definitely not the other side.
You grew into it.
Yeah.
So hiring TJ, hiring Bill was foundational. And then, you know, the other staff from there, but so no buts. And I think the other thing was creating financial stability, because you can't do anything unless you pay your bills, pay your staff,
you got to pay Bill
and that bill too. So, you know, I had a business degree and I helped run a business. And so I knew what we had to do, and we worked hard, and we've always obviously met our bills and created a budget that we've always met. And now we have financial security. And so whenever I move on to retirement, I feel like we're in a really good place with staff and financial security. And people know we're the premier after school program in Lincoln and beyond.
So you did a great transition into our next person, obviously, that is our next executive director, and that's TJ McDowell. Now, TJ, he was talking about how qualified you were when you first came in. I'll have to disagree. So, and I only say that because I believe I taught you how to play pool.
Pitch.
Pitch.
Yeah, pitch.
Ping pong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Maybe spades. I don't know.
I knew how to play spades.
Oh, but
Yep.
did I help kind of fine tune
just the
that?
hours
maybe?
of repetition, practice.
Oh man, we had some good times, but
Yes, we did.
And to be honest with you, it was kind of fun to have you come in and you being closer to our age,
Mhm.
because again, when Pete first started, he was a different person than he is today. He came in with a suit or really nice clothes that didn't
and a tie.
Yeah, and it didn't match with us rough and tumble kind of kids that are coming in. And you came in and connected it at a younger level, and capable of exploring with us. So, but what was it like when you first stepped into that role, especially after coming in when Pete, the founding director, what was that like?
Well, I remember how it happened. I was actually I was at a student at Nebraska Wesleyan planning to be a history teacher. And I said to Pete, I need to step down from Lighthouse because I need to student teach. And I'm not going to be able to work full time and student teach. And he said, well, why don't we make you the director? You're going to be teaching students just in a different classroom. And so I said yes. And so after I got my degree, I was 23 years old and became the executive director of Lighthouse. What I remember is people would come in and they'd say, I'm looking for the director. And I'd say, oh, that's me. And they'd be like, huh? There was always this confusion. But I remember I had great passion for the students, but I had to learn how to be an executive director. Especially back then, there was they weren't teaching you how to be an executive director. There were classes about how to run a business, but not how to be an executive director. And so it's different. But as a nonprofit, as you alluded to, you still have to figure out how to raise money and balance your budget. That still becomes really, really, really critical. And so I just remember being really young and having to learn a lot and learn fast. I consider it a really important part of my education. I've been able to do some really incredible things professionally, and I feel like all of it stems from my time at Lighthouse. I learned how to be a leader during my tenure at Lighthouse.
Yeah. So then talk a little bit about how when you came over as executive director and then started taking it a different vision, like expanding upon that vision. Because obviously foundationally we had an understanding of what Lighthouse is, but talk a little bit about that.
When I first started, we talked about it being a gathering place. And as I was looking at the research and looking at where we really fit, I saw the research about high quality after school program. I felt like that's really what we wore. So we started to transition from being a gathering place to being a high quality after school program that's really finding ways to support students' education through our programs and what we were doing and how we were setting it up. And it was hard to talk about what it is a gathering place. People didn't understand what that was. But when we started talking about after school program, they got a sense of that. And I know the research, and we used to talk about all the time, is that the most high risk hours are from like 3 to 5 for teenagers. And so, and we were really, that was when we were doing our best work, is during those hours.
Right. And carried on through one of your messages that you started at Lighthouse, which love is a change agent. That still carries on through today. And I expanded upon what love means is living one's values every day. And helping upon our staff connect to really helping them see why we do what we do.
I remember talking about what we do. And I remember saying one time that we're really good at telling young people what not to do. But we're not as good at telling them what to do. And so I felt like at Lighthouse, we were helping them know what to do and how to do it to be successful. And I really do still believe that love is the most powerful change agent.
That's right.
And it's not the touchy feely love. It's I love you enough to make sure that and want the best for you.
Right.
And to support you in doing that.
Yeah, it's a parental love. It really is. It's both sides of it. I'm going to care about you. I'm going to help pick you up, but I'm also going to kick you in the butt a little bit.
I'm going to hold you high expectations.
But
I'm also going to provide the support so you can meet those expectations.
That's right. Yeah. And I know adults don't do a very good job of knowing how to replace behaviors that are negative with ones that are positive, because who's teaching anybody how to do that?
Right.
So early on, what were some of the challenges that you faced? Some of the biggest ones?
Well, I think learning how to be a director was a big one. Pete talked about those early days. It was still all about fundraising and doing the programs that meet the needs. And then for me as the executive, it was really learning how to tell our story in a compelling way that pulled people in. And so I remember going through a lot of different iterations to have all the numbers and be able to give them all that. But then I realized what really pulled people in was just to tell a story. And working there, we had all kinds of stories. So we just, depending on the audience, I would tailor the story to the audience. We just had so many stories of students whose life had been changed and impacted by the work that we were doing. So I think that was it. I think also creating an atmosphere where a very diverse population of students could become family.
Yeah.
And I think that was a key piece of what we did, because the thing I love about Lighthouse, I still love about Lighthouse, is that there were kids from literally all over the world.
Yeah.
I remember kids from Bosnia. I remember, kids from Chicago. There's kids from Mystic all over the United States and the world, and they were gathering as an extended family at Lighthouse, and that was the beautiful thing about it. And so and there were some cultural tensions at time that we had to help navigate and help have conversations about.
And I remember that. Can I say two?
Yeah, of course.
Well, one of them is, kids just keep coming to Lighthouse. So after 9/11, a lot of Middle Eastern Muslim kids came.
It's still one of my stories.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You
tell that story. I'll tell the other one where very multicultural, and the African American teens would go to TJ and say, "Yeah, this is White House."
Yeah, when we first opened up, they would say, "Oh, you work at the White House?" And I was like, "What? Is that the name?"
And you're like, "No, everybody's loved here.
Yeah.
Everybody's treated equally.
Yep.
All the rules, like everybody else, is following the rules."
Yeah. So when we get back from this break, we'll continue our conversation.
There's no place like McKinney's Irish Pub for St. Patrick's Day, so mark your calendars to join in on the fun for their 11th annual Street Festival. The party starts on Saturday, March 15th, with tons of giveaways, a kilt contest, great Irish food, and green beer, and continues on Monday the 17th for actual St. Patrick's Day. Doors open for the bar at 11 a.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. on Monday, and the street party starts at 2 p.m. both days. Don't miss out on great music and great fun with no cover charge for St. Patrick's Day weekend at McKinney's 8th and P in the Haymarket.
With UBT, you've got total control over your money. Like Doug, who runs his game day tailgate like a well-oiled machine.
I got burgers, brats, chicken, dogs, plus all the fixins. And with the UBT Go app, I can track my food spending from anywhere.
Pro move.
They don't call me Grill Sergeant for nothing.
No matter your goals, UBT helps you feel good about reaching them. Union Bank and Trust. Member FDIC.
When you were a kid, clubs were cool. Robotics club and space club and stuff like that. But what do adults get? Book clubs and quilting clubs? Nah, forget that. How about margarita clubs and old-fashioned clubs? Get to Upside Bar and Lounge for the best clubs in town. Try all 10 varieties of Upside margaritas or old fashions and take home a free souvenir glass. Grab the whole crew and pair it with taco night on Mondays or whiskey Wednesdays. Upside Bar and Lounge at 29th and Pine Lake.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
What's going on, fans? This is Lexi Rodriguez, 4-time All-American at Nebraska and now proud member of Omaha's newest professional team, Love Omaha Volleyball. League One Volleyball is bringing the heat this year. Don't miss your chance to see Olympians, national players, and national champions right here in Omaha from now through April. We can't wait to see you cheering us on in the stands. Visit lovboma.com to buy single match tickets to see me and Love Omaha Volleyball in action this season. Go Big Green!
Automotive Solutions is Lincoln's one-stop shop for all your vehicle needs, from vinyl wraps to engine repair and maintenance. Automotive Solutions offers fleet services as well as printing and graphic design for vinyl applications. plus installation of vinyl for boats, trucks, cars, and anything else you want wrapped. Perfection is their standard, and they never settle for less. Call today at 531-249-5600 or go to automotivesolutionslincoln.com to learn more. That's Automotive Solutions on 2024 Southwest 5th Street in Lincoln. Attention all Wings fans. Buffalo Wings and Rings has daily specials that will make you want to stop in on all days of the week. Kids eat free on Mondays, and on Tuesdays enjoy 89-cent boneless or traditional wings at a price that makes the whole family happy. And come back on Wednesdays for $1.29 chicken tenders all day long. Get the Buffalo Wings and Rings today on 68th and O or in Williamsburg Village.
Your home is your empire. Protect it with Empire Fence. Get a free instant quote with the online estimating tool at empire-fence.com. See an upfront estimate with no hidden fees. An Empire Fence can provide privacy and improve the appearance of your home. Keep kids and pets in or out of your yard. Increase security and add value to your property. Visit empire-fence.com now to view the stylish and maintenance-free possibilities for your home and get a free instant online quote. Let Empire Fence protect your empire.
Now back to Be a Beacon with Lighthouse on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Here we are with our three directors and having a conversation with TJ McDowell, the number 2 executive director of Lighthouse, and
just chronologically.
I'll accept number 2.
Okay,
that's fine.
Okay. You try harder.
I wasn't saying that I was number 1.
Actually, in this group, I'll be third.
Okay,
I'll take third in this group.
Oh no. So, as we were talking, one of the things I wanted to get to though is as a director, when was one of your defining moments?
Yeah.
Because you already alluded to a little bit of your leadership now, but when was the defining moment? What was it that helped kind of shape who you are today?
You know, there's a lot of like defining moments, but one of the ones I think was really impactful that let me know just how important the work we were doing at Lighthouse was, and it was a kind of an unexpected thing. But after September 11th, you know, prior to that, we'd had a number of Afghan and Iraqi immigrant refugee kids come. You know, their families had been displaced because of the war in their countries, and sometimes their parents had been interpreters or whatever. So they were here as immigrants and refugees, and they lived in the neighborhood near Lighthouse. So we had a nice, sizable population of immigrant and refugee students, and they were part of our extended family. I remember after Ramadan, sometimes we would get the feast that the families would bring in to share, because that was an important,
and that was the best.
And that was awesome. But I remember after September 11th that some of the kids, because of what happened and some of the backlash, that they'd be walking down the street and have people holler awful things at them, call them terrorists, and those kind of things. Were 13, 14, 15-year-old kids. And I remember the day after September 11th, a lot of them didn't go to school.
Right.
They were worried and didn't feel safe, but they came to Lighthouse. They said, I feel safe there. And that let me know just how important the work we were doing, that they might not have felt safe at school or on the street, but they felt safe at Lighthouse. And that meant that we were creating an environment where every student felt safe. And that was really significant to me. And I remember that really impacted me. The other thing is, I think probably every year around May, when the graduation was happening. And I often I still say it, the graduation, especially high school graduation, is probably my favorite holiday. Family's all there. Usually they're getting along a little better than some of the other holidays. It's a celebratory atmosphere. And especially for those young folks we knew who it wasn't easy getting to that point.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy getting to Walker. There had been challenges every step of the way. And for them to get that high school diploma was significant. And so that to me, every May, June, whenever the graduation was, that to me was one of those moments. And then with the way we captured that with the pictures on the wall and how significant it was to students to say, you know, when they were on the wall.
Right.
So to me, that was one of those things there were just really important, that, you know, to create that space for students to come and feel welcome and safe, and then to help them achieve something. Because they used to always tell them, look, I can promise you, you will never regret getting that high school diploma. But I can also promise you, if you don't, you're going to regret it at some point in your life. You're going to look back and go, gosh, I should have just buckled down. And just to see then, the students who go on to success. And I started working there in 1991. So, so many of the Lighthouse kids I work are grown and many of them are doing well. And it's seeing them.
I'm grown.
Yeah. And so my kids used to think like I knew everybody because everywhere we went, I would know somebody. It was usually a Lighthouse kid,
right,
or a Lighthouse volunteer.
Yeah.
And so I think those are some of the really impactful times for me.
And TJ, part of my learning curve was many of those kids, it was the first high school diploma in their family.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that standard is not set for them, modeled to them, and it came from Lighthouse.
One of the other, I still smile when I think about it. Other cultural learning times that occurred at Lighthouse was when we started doing the Christmas dinner with the prime rib. That to me, it was just such a funny, like cultural learning experience that there's a group who when they have their prime rib, it's got to be medium or less well done.
If it was pink at all, not one bite was taken.
Yeah, and I think there was some cultural.
This isn't cooked.
Discord. Hey, what are you doing? This is not cooked. And I think some of our board members who were doing a very big deal.
Yeah.
But I just remember just some of those reactions. And so I think we learned in the future, just burn it.
And the funny thing is that's how families do it, right? You learn from all that.
Yeah.
And I have to go back just a second because you were talking about that family atmosphere of Lighthouse. And if you go to any school now, you're going to see our swag on kids.
Okay.
They wear it proudly as a badge of honor that they're a part of this family.
Yeah.
And that's a cool thing to me.
It is cool.
And that's our trademark, I guess.
It is.
So I do want to get to this story because you keep alluding to this story that you have about a young person or a couple stories that I need you to share those things.
Well, I started thinking about it, and I don't know if I can share a story because to share one specific story leaves out so many others.
Well, of course.
And I think for me, it's the multitude of stories that, I'm still enriched by those relationships. I think about, I can't start listening. I started to start naming some names, but if I did, I was going to leave out some other really significant young folks. And the thing about my time at Lighthouse, I think I received as much from my time there as I gave. It was one of those things where it really was a mutually beneficial relationship. And the things I learned, especially the importance of relationships, like I call them relational deposits. And when I was the chief of staff for the mayor, I would say to her, look, we have to make these relational deposits. And I learned relational deposits from Lighthouse. And one of the way I would use it was whoever the most challenging kid was, you build a relationship, send them a little note. And then when you had to correct the behavior later, it was like, well, I know he cares about me.
Right.
And I remember a student telling me one time, I used to get so mad when you would kick me out. I guess somebody said, sometimes I think about, I'm going to key your car.
You're not supposed to talk about me on the radio.
But the next day when I came back, you treated me like the day before it didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I remember times where I'd have to call a parent about something happened. And when I said who I was to the mom on the phone, she goes, "Oh, are you the one who looks after my boy or wrote my boy that nice note?" And so when you have that first interaction is positive and you've laid the groundwork on a positive relationship, you can go deeper. You can have the harder conversation if you've done that front end work.
And I appreciate you bringing that to light because I went to New York and one of the places that I visited to eat, they were the place that served the food to the first responders during 9/11.
Yeah.
Every badge of the first responder, every patch was on the wall, and there were tens of thousands of these. And that kind of reminds me of your stories, right? You've got touched by so many stories. How can you pick one off the wall and talk about it?
Yeah.
Because all of them had an impact.
Yeah.
Different ways, different magnitudes, but they all had an impact.
And I left Lighthouse in 2005, 2006. I still have contact. I still interact with kids I know from Lighthouse.
I mean,
it's a really cool thing.
I'm one of them.
Yeah, it's just a really cool thing. It's just a really.
I have to keep saying that.
It's just a really special thing.
the guy who took my money at Hy-Vee says, I know you. Like, I think I know you. Lighthouse? Yes, Lighthouse.
No, it's just, that's a cool thing. It's a cool
And
system.
TJ, what do you do now, by the way?
So I just started. I'm about 6 weeks in as an assistant vice chancellor and dean of students at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln.
So you're still making impact in students' lives.
And the thing about it, I want, after I worked in higher ed, I was like, I can't get away from working with students. I mean, it's my calling. It's the reason why I get up in the morning. And so I love to have an opportunity to serve my city in the mayor's office, but my calling is to work with young people, regardless of where they're at on that. I found that I really like working with the older kids, in part because college was so transformational for me. I mean, if I didn't go to college, I don't end up at Lighthouse.
Right.
My dad didn't graduate from high school. My mom had me shortly after graduating. And so the fact that I earned a college degree literally changed the trajectory of my life and the life of my kids. And so to be able to have the opportunity to work with kids, especially kids who are from similar backgrounds, to help them get those degrees, it's very, very meaningful to me. It's like, I don't feel like I work again. I don't feel like I work.
And you do it darn well. And Bill Mishner does it darn well.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm thankful you listen to your calling too, and not just doing what is there that you're passionate about, but not your calling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've been fortunate. I'm 53 years old. I am blessed to have the opportunity to do the things I've gotten in the city I grew up in. I mean, not everybody gets to do the things that I've gotten to do literally in the city they grow up in. And so I've had the opportunity to give back to all the places that gave to me. And so I just want to spend the remaining working years giving back to students at the university.
So that leads me to my last question for you.
Yeah.
So what do you think your proudest achievement is during your time at Lighthouse?
Gosh, I think that they talk about leadership is when the leader leaves, what goes on. And I think the fact that seeing the success that Lighthouse has just continued to have, I think that's the greatest thing. And I mean, and I think that's a small part of my legacy, our legacy,
for sure.
And so, so that to me is probably the big thing. That, I mean, just all the lives we touched, that and when you hear from students where I wouldn't have graduated, or I would have, whatever, they had me for Lighthouse. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. But I think that we're sitting here celebrating 35 years of a place that was sprung from nothing, from an idea. And to be a part of seeing that happen is, I mean, I started working there part-time, full-time that summer, 11 months after it opened.
Yeah.
And so it's cool to see how it's grown and evolved, but the core is still the same, using love to change lives.
Yeah. And I've told Pete this a lot, but the people that made an impact in my career, you two are a part of that, and you helped set me up to be ready to take over as executive director. And one of the questions they asked me was, how will you walk in TJ's footsteps? He's been so successful in this community. And I'm like, well, TJ's great. I can't be TJ. I got to do my own thing.
That's it.
And so I got to blaze my own trail.
Yeah.
And so, but you helped set me up for that. So we'll be back after this short break.
Spring storms can unfortunately lead to power outages. While LES line workers go out in the storm, you can stay in, but you can also help by reporting your outage right away online at les.com/report.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see partly sunny skies with light winds. An afternoon high around 73. Tonight, decreasing cloud cover and cold moon, a low around 40. And tomorrow, we'll see mainly sunny skies. It'll be breezy and warm with an afternoon high near 78. I'm meteorologist Kyle Tucker for 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Advanced Medical Imaging is the largest radiology group in Nebraska, located in Lincoln at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard. At Advanced Medical Imaging, they utilize state-of-the-art technology and blend it together with their compassionate, skilled team to guide you through every step. Whether it's an MRI, CT scan, or X-ray, their precise diagnostics help your doctor deliver the best care plan for you. Choose clarity and comfort in your life by choosing Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard and online at amimaging.com.
At Valentino's, we're on a mission for tradition. On every slice, for every bite. Golden baked crust, cooked to perfection every time. Savory sweet sauce that's made from our own secret recipe. Loaded with the perfect amount of fresh toppings and melty mozzarella cheese. It's the tradition that Nebraskans have come to love. From game day to every day. Valentino's. Taste the tradition.
There's no place like McKinney's Irish Pub for St. Patrick's Day, so mark your calendars to join in on the fun for their 11th annual Street Festival. The party starts on Saturday, March 15th, with tons of giveaways, a kilt contest, great Irish food, and green beer, and continues on Monday the 17th for actual St. Patrick's Day. Doors open for the bar at 11 a.m. on Saturday and 9 a.m. on Monday, and the street party starts at 2 p.m. both days. Don't miss out on great music and great fun with no cover charge for St. Patrick's Day weekend at McKinney's 8th and P in the Haymarket.
Hello.
Angela, we have to break up
But why?
because you're a robot and I'm just a guy trying to get better internet.
It's Aloe Fiber, isn't it? I always knew you wanted faster speeds. My contract isn't good enough for you.
Face it, Angela, they let me talk to real people.
Press 4 to break my heart. Oh wait, you already did.
Visit aloefiber.com to switch today.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Underground, who has been serving local contractors and utility contractors all across the state since 1997. When you see the black and white trucks, you know the baddest dudes in the business have arrived. Bauer is currently looking for equipment operators, laborers, diesel mechanics, and aerial linemen. Join the brotherhood built on hard work, authentic people, and pedigree of success. Bauer, a family-friendly company who reminds you, go Big Red!
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and March Madness is here, and Koppel is ready to rock and roll. We just closed the books on a tremendous February, and we're locked and loaded for a big March. True 0% APR is happening right now at Koppel on select new models. Koppel also has over 10,500 off list on new select models. So please stop on by and see what confident driving and confident buying is all about. We're right down 144th Street or online at koppelcars.com. All deals with the roof credit, 0% is standalone.
When you need a new water heater, nothing beats the ProLine family of water heaters from A.O. Smith. ProLine models are built using commercial-grade components, meaning they're built to help you tackle your toughest days. No matter if you need a gas or electric model, A.O. Smith has a ProLine unit for you. A.O. Smith, innovation has a name. Call Wellman Plumbing at 402-434-2400 for a great deal on a water heater today. Again, that's 402-434-2400.
Now back to Be a Beacon with Lighthouse on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome back, and I don't know if you guys have been having fun, but this memory lane is sure is fun for us. And you know, TJ and I have had a lot of time to spend together, both as a youth and then as a professional, as starting my career. And Pete was the only one that could compete with me in ping pong, but we sure did have a lot of fun, and we had pitch tournaments and stuff like that. So
Sure did. Well, Bill, we're going to flip the script. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Oh.
And Bill, you've been here.
Wait, is that okay? Is that a part of the rules, Harrison? Can we do that?
Yeah, we'll allow it.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. These are the founders we're talking about here.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Well, Bill, you've been the director for 19 of the 35 years
Yeah.
of Lighthouse is this. What keeps you coming back? What's kept you connected?
I mean, that's the easiest thing, because People ask me why I'm still there.
Mhm.
Have you never had a job offer? I'm like, no, I've had job offers. And why haven't you left? And it comes down to Michelle, to be quite honest with you.
Mm.
So one of the job offers I had early on, I shouldn't say early on, about midway through my career.
Yeah.
I of course talked to TJ about it Pete about it. And Pete's like, whoa, where is this coming from? Didn't know you were looking. I wasn't looking, but I come home and Michelle and I start processing it. And she goes, I just have one question. I'm going to go anywhere you go. I'm your wife. She goes, are you done? Have you done everything you've wanted to do at Lighthouse?
Okay.
And I'm like, I have not. And it continues. So when we became accredited, people go, hey, you guys are there. I'm like, no, I'm that guy that always looks over to the next mountain peak and go, nope, I have that mountain to climb now. And so I just feel like the work's never done with the kids that we serve.
That's good. That's a great answer. Thank God for Michelle asking that question.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's what a good wife.
Very
good partner would do that.
strong wisdom.
Yeah.
Strong wisdom.
So, Bill, in your time, you were youth, you were staff member and executive director. How was the Lighthouse's approach to working with young people and the evolving needs of young people changed?
It had to do with just paying attention and being curious. I'm just as curious as I think the kids are. And when I heard about this restorative practices thing many moons ago, I wanted to know more. And then I wanted to know so much more that I wanted to be trained in it and then wanted it a part of our organization. So it really had to do with wanting to serve our kids better and meeting them where they were at.
Yeah.
And so it's always about them.
Yeah.
I could care about anything else. It's just about them.
And if you mentioned restorative practices, someone's not familiar with that, a high level, what is that and how does that impact?
Restorative practices in the simplest sense is giving somebody a voice that typically doesn't have one. So youth don't have a voice. Typically, they don't have power in situations. Adults do, parents do, teachers do. It's just starting with them and giving them a chance to see life through their lenses.
That's cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
So how are you using that at Lighthouse then?
It's a part of everything that we do, even discipline. So we still do 3 strikes, but that's more about smaller things. And we do what's called impromptu conversations now. And we're like, hey, TJ, what did I just see there? Well, you saw what just happened. Just want you to walk through what did I just witness? And then they'll talk about it. And I'll say, well, what are the expectations here? And then they'll tell me. And I'll say, did that meet that expectation?
Okay.
No. So then how do we move forward? Well, I deserve a strike. If that's true, then why do you deserve that strike? So it brings it full circle. So it's a conversation rather than just being punitive.
Okay. I like that. So as you think about, we're coming up on the 35-year anniversary.
Yep.
And maybe I'm asking both of you this. What's the vision for the next 35 years? What can we expect in the next 35 years for Lighthouse?
See, again, it's going to evolve because what I see now is going to be different than what I see in a decade. And a perfect example is that we have the alternative suspension program, which wasn't even in the vision of what we were doing. And then now we have that trades and industry pathway program to give young people an opportunity to see a different path, see a future that could break these poverty cycles. So who knows what it's going to be? Is it credit recovery? Who knows? And I do want to be open to what are the needs of the community, what are the needs of our kids, what are the needs of our family to be able to do that. So
3 words, the culture of Lighthouse in 3 words. That's what we'll end.
Love, restorative, diversity.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, appreciate you joining us tonight and tuning in to Be a Beacon. Don't forget, I expect you all to be a beacon in this world. And we'll see you next week, and Brandon will be the host.